contact you? Because I believe those who do local made will have an interest to invent such.
Absolutely. Court Sierra Leone and Njala University and Government Technical Institute are the quickest and easiest ways to contact us. If you want to find out more about the stove, you can look at the website.
So there is no barrier about intellectual property, right? No idea, no barrier as to whether who invented it or not. Everybody has got the right to go ahead and just manufacture a stove like this.
Not entirely. What we do is we look for partners who are willing to really follow the idea of helping women's health, improving the soil, improving the environment by sequestering CO2. And if we see that they're working well and they're producing the stoves correctly so that people's healths are protected, because if we say anyone can produce it and then they start producing it the wrong way, we put women's lives at risk.
But do we
it's
have
a free license.
Do we have the materials here to produce this one?
Excellent question. The materials, stainless steel is very difficult to find in Sierra Leone, but because World Stove produces thousands and thousands and thousands of stoves at a time, we get lower cost materials, which then we pass that on to Sierra Leone. So we then provide the shipping channels for that. You have the advantages of a free port in town, the possibilities of letting this grow into a real Sierra Leone business are quite there.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Good Morning Sierra Leone on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. Now, it's now time again for us to do something else. I was just been joined in the studios by our regular text reader. She is.
Mike.
I want to give
Anne-Marie
her some
I wanted to call her
picture.
Michael Abriwa.
Yes, Anne-Marie Gigba. Anne-Marie.
This one says, good morning presenters. Does the device use waste papers, plastic or nylon materials? Mr. Vandy, how does this stove work? It's coming from Raf. The next one says, this is a good initiative. What is the cost for the stove? It's coming from Precious from Congo Town. Please, I want to know, can this stove be used for big cooking like marriage ceremony? I'm happy to see your technology. How long will it take to cook a cup of rice? And what's the cost? What happened to the smoke that this groundnut shell give out? It's coming from Alice and Aberdeen. The last one says, Sierra Leoneans should appreciate this stove because it will save a forest reserve. It's coming from DJ Lavalley. Over to you.
It was a thanks to. And now, this question. It's going to be 2 points. Okay. There are some. Mr. Van is going to answer, and then Morhe Nat will also answer some. But then I start with you, Nat.
All right. So there were amazing questions. First off, let me answer the very. I remember them in the order. I think one is, can you use plastics and papers in the stove? Yes, papers. Yes, cardboard. No plastic. That's absolutely, because papers and cardboard are basically plant material. So it's anything that used to be a plant you can use in the stove as long as it's dry. Another question is, how much is it going to cost? That's long term yet, because we've just started the market analysis, but our goal is if a coal pot costs X, this should not cost more than twice as much as a coal pot. And since the coal pot lasts 1 year at most, and this lasts 5 years, long term, this makes it a cheaper stove.
But whatever the case, it's going to cost more than, this one is going to cost more than the ones that we are using now.
Up front, but not over the life of the stove, because if you buy 5 coal pots, that's more expensive than one LuciaStove.
Okay, Mr. Vandy, there are some questions for you as well. Mr. Vandy.
Okay, thank you very much. I think one question I can remember is, how does the stove work? And I would have liked Nat to answer that, but very shortly. It works this way. You put a certain measure of the feedstock. Feedstock could be palm kernel shell or granite shells or whatever. You light it and then it starts working. Now on the top of it you will see a glow, big glow of red fire. As that goes, as it continues to burn, then you see that it creates a lot of gas, and it is actually the gas, or whatever you call it, it's not actually smoke, but gas that does the cooking. But underneath, you can, when it's lighted, you can touch up to the middle of the stove. It's not hot.
But Mr. Vandy, I think people are concerned about when you're saying that this one will kind of it will not be as harmful as some of like the other sources of energy that people are using. Now, are you telling us here that there will be no effect on the human system using this stove?
That's exactly what we're trying to say. Because as I told you, several people die as a result of inhaling, the smoke when they cook. Their eyes get burned and that kind of thing. But then this stove, it cooks, it burns clean, and therefore it does not give out the smoke that affects our women and children.
But it does produces smoke.
No.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. What this stove does is it doesn't burn the fuel, it actually burns the smoke. Smoke is what it uses for fuel.
Yeah. And somebody asked a question whether you can use this particular stove to prepare food for wedding ceremonies or big occasions like parties. Can they use it for such?
We call it aujo.
Aujo?
Yes.
Okay, so for
big cook.
For aujo, absolutely, but this is clearly a family stove.
Okay,
this
so
would be
you
good
can't...
for your family, but we have very big versions of the LuciaStove.
Okay.
And Mr. Dauda and the partners here from Njala and Cord have been very good to take us to all the cooking techniques. And so we've been measuring the pots and we've been studying the recipes so that the stoves we provide and teach the Leone to make will be for even the big festivities. The pots this big with the 3 legs and all that. And I've learned a lot about them too, because in each of the villages that we've gone, they've been so nice and cooked pots this big full of food for us. I'm fatter now after my time in Sierra Leone.
And there was another question whether how long will it take for someone to prepare food using this particular stove?
It depends on the power rating of the stove. For example, this one will boil up 1 liter, so this much in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
We have another one which will boil this in about 5 minutes, and we have another one which will boil this in 11 seconds. So 11 seconds
So
is
which
faster.
means the prices of those stoves will be somehow different based on the...
They're almost the same. Almost the same, because it's only changing things like these little tabs here and the shape of how they're bent. That changes the power rating of the stove.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Good Morning Sierra Leone on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. Now, I think, Doreen, it's time for us to take another break as we bring you the music soundtrack titled Touch My Body.
Touch my body.